All right, big review. Had to dress up for this. Microsoft Surface Pro 6. Intro. Hey, what's up guys? So for the last couple weeks, I've been messing around with the Microsoft Surface Pro 6. This cost me about $1,200. It has the i7, the i7-8650U, clocked at 1.9 gigahertz, 4.2 turbo. This has 8 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gigabytes of onboard storage. Of course, you can upgrade the storage kind of with a micro SD card, but I digress. When I got the Microsoft Surface, I had two things in the back of my head. Can this replace my main computer? Also, can it be my main tablet? Currently, right now, I'm using the iPad. This is the standard iPad from 2018. It was like $300. It's a phenomenal little device. I can do a ton of web browsing on it, sometimes play some games. Heck, I even do a lot of business work on it, managing documents, Excel documents, emails, you name it. Unfortunately though, the iPad has its limitations. It's running iOS, and I mean, that should say enough. iOS, unfortunately, is a limiting operating system, but that's why I want to try out the Surface. So to answer my, second question, can the Microsoft Surface compete in terms of a tablet? Can it compete with my iPad? Well, I think we have to first look at the operating system, which is Windows 10. Microsoft has done a lot to work on Windows 10 to make it operate well on a touchscreen. And it's a hit or miss kind of experience. On the right hand side, if you do swipe left, there is a button that enables tablet mode. And this is kind of crucial when you're using the Microsoft Surface or any Windows 10 device as a tablet with no other peripherals. You see, tablet mode eliminates the desktop and enables what Microsoft used to call the Metro UI. This is a ton of tiles that, let you click on different applications. It definitely is a bit of a different experience than, say, Android or iOS. It does take a little bit of time to get used to, but I have found to kind of like it. And speaking about things I like, I absolutely, love having a full web browser on the Microsoft Surface. I'm running Google Chrome, and it is a phenomenal experience. Except the keyboard. You see, when you're using Windows 10 as only a tablet, there are times that the keyboard, the on-screen keyboard, just doesn't pop up. And this doesn't happen as much when you're actually in tablet mode, but there are times, especially while web browsing, that I click on something and I have to input text and the keyboard is nowhere to be found. Luckily, in tablet mode, in the bottom right-hand corner, there is a button to toggle the keyboard on and off, but it is a little bit of a nuisance nonetheless. Multitasking on Windows 10 in tablet mode actually works pretty well. It's very easy to take a window and put it, say, on the right-hand side and then have another window on the left-hand side and then adjust how much space each window is going to take up, almost like an iPad. I do find that sometimes it's a bit more glitchy than I would like it to be compared to the iPad and iOS, but at the end of the day, it does work. However, what doesn't always work though in tablet mode is actual programs. You see, there are many applications, many programs that just simply don't work well on a touchscreen. And that's because there's too many buttons on tons of programs that are just too small, that aren't designed for a touchscreen. And because Windows 10 is at first a desktop experience, and tablets are really only second, so the interface of many programs are definitely lacking for touchscreens. And what's actually even more disappointing is the Microsoft Store. So there's the Microsoft Store, which lets you download applications, games, etc. And there definitely are a decent amount of programs that are optimized for touchscreens in the Microsoft Store. But there's also a lot that still are not optimized for a touchscreen. And heck, if we're being honest, Windows 10 itself doesn't always even work great on a touchscreen. I do love that I can access the full desktop and get a full desktop experience on this little tablet, but there are still times, even in File Explorer, that there are buttons that are just a little bit too small. However, that's why it's great to get a stylus. Now, Microsoft sells their own stylus for the Microsoft Surface, and it does clip on nicely to the side. it's about $100 additional to the tablet. It does not come in the box. And I think that's a huge mistake. Even though when you're using this tablet in tablet mode, you don't really need the stylus. But if you're outside of tablet mode specifically, using a stylus, especially for programs and applications that aren't made for touchscreens, a stylus is going to be crucial for you to navigate through pages and applications with exact accuracy. But now I'm kind of leaning into the next category. How does the Microsoft Surface Pro act as a PC replacement? Well, if you want this to replace your laptop, you're going to need to buy a keyboard. Microsoft has a keyboard. It's an additional like $120 or something dollars. I'll have some links in the description. And that keyboard, which I don't actually have with me, performs fine. It has a keyboard, it has its own trackpad, and it does let you use the Surface just like a standard laptop. The keyboard setup they have might not work great on your lap, but at a desk it's perfectly fine and typing on it is relatively comfortable. But of course your mileage might vary. But heck, you can even use this as a desktop. With the mini display output, I can easily connect this to a monitor and then have Bluetooth keyboards, and all of a sudden I have almost a full desktop experience. However, now let's talk about performance. So keep in mind, this is the i7 version. The reason I got the i7 is because there is an actual fan. Sure, the fan is audible at times, but having a fan will let you air out the device when it does get pretty hot. And overall, it doesn't get super hot. It does get a little warm in the hands and maybe on the verge of being uncomfortable, but overall, it's not too bad at all. Now, I will say I did make some videos talking about performance. We did a benchmarking video, gaming, as well as video editing, and overall, the Surface is fine in terms of performance. It's snappy, it's responsive, it's going to do daily tasks and web browsing very quickly, load up pages fine. If you want to do some hardcore stuff, gaming's not that great on it. With the Intel chips, it's limiting. Video editing you can do with, but there definitely are going to be some limitations. But yes, what are these limitations? Well, it actually has to do with the ports. Now, I mentioned there is a display output, and that's awesome. I would prefer HDMI, but whatever. In terms of other ports, though, we have a USB Type-A connector, and that's all besides the Microsoft Surface proprietary power connector. Now keep in mind, this Surface was released last year, 2018, and the fact that a 2018 product does not have USB Type-C is mind-boggling. And forget Thunderbolt 3, just at least give me USB Type-C, but Thunderbolt 3 would definitely be an added feature. But at the end of the day, one USB Type-A port is most certainly not enough. I have to connect multiple hard drives at times to transfer files back and forth, and sure, I can get a USB hub, but who wants to deal with a hub? I know USB Type-C, you might have to deal with dongles, but the fact that we only have USB Type-A and not USB-C/Thunderbolt 3, which would offer more bandwidth, is frustrating to say the least. So here actually comes my next question. Who is the Microsoft Surface Pro for? Funny enough, part of my videography business is actually working with lawyers. And honestly, Microsoft Surface is a good computer for lawyers. They can, set up the Surface on the desk during meetings, and when they want to show something, it's easy just to take it off the keyboard and hand it their way to check out a PDF document or something like that. But for many other people, I don't know who this is for. As we've talked about, gaming is definitely not great on this. Professional use for photo and video editors, it's doable in terms of performance, but it's frustrating because of the lack of connectivity. Sure, you can just use this tablet for surfing the web and more casual work, but even that's a little annoying because Windows 10 has its own quirks on a touchscreen. You might be better off buying an iPad or an Android tablet. Of course, it's nice to have a full-blown web browser on a tablet, unlike, an iPad that just runs, a dumb version of Safari. But if you're relying on the Surface for the touchscreen, you're gonna be a little bit disappointed. Now, I'm not saying the Surface doesn't have a place. It definitely is a phenomenal device, just with its own quirks. Really, I think I would overcome a lot of the issues, I would say, with Windows 10 if the actual hardware of this tablet was a bit better. And I'm not even talking about the CPU. I'm just talking about the simple I/O. Add Thunderbolt 3, so then I could at least dock this into all my other hard drives and networking devices, etc., and use this as a proper computer when I need it to be. So guys, that is the Microsoft Surface Pro 6. Overall, I've been enjoying having this tablet around. However, I am probably going to part ways with it, at least right now. I don't want to deal with its limitations in terms of I/O, and there are some ways to overcome that with buying Microsoft's proprietary connectors to add more USB ports and Ethernet and yada yada yada. But I also want to be able to charge this on USB Type-C. I don't want to buy into proprietary connectors. I just started switching over to USB Type-C for a ton of hard drives and whatnot, and I don't want to backtrack now just because I bought this tablet. With that said, I'm probably going to be trying out another tablet, but you'll find out hopefully very soon what that is. So guys, if you have questions, comments, concerns, if you want to see anything else about the Microsoft Surface Pro 6, let me know in the comments below. I'll try to have some links about what I've talked about in the description. But guys, that's the video. Catch you in the next one.